Welcome back, everybody, to the Tentacles of Cuyahoga County. I am the host, the infamous ex-chief of the city of East Cleveland. Going over our itinerary today for week 6, episode 6, which is the week of May 6th. Right after the 4th Be With You. I'm a pretty big Star Trek fan, so I had to throw that in there. I forgot last week. May the 4th be with you. So this episode, we're going to be talking about Cuyahoga police officer Michael Amiott and the injustice that was occurred to him. The justice that continues to still occur to him because of the fourth state of media in Ohio. Especially the Cleveland.com on this one. I tell you what, Cleveland.com is probably one of the most worthless pieces of trash I have ever seen or read. Totally inaccurate and mostly about everything. Even things that I would give them statements about as chief, they would still get it incorrect. That's generally why I had to just start writing literally everything verbatim for them. Anyways, we're also going to be talking about Ryan Westlake, the Akron officer, some updates that occurred this week. Some injustices for him. I thought I was going to end on a positive note for him, but the city caved, which I guess is to be expected. Also going to be talking about, and I normally don't drag them in. I have no idea what's going on with them. The Summit County Prosecutor's Office, their decision to dismiss the charges on the juvenile for the replica firearm. That's me scratching my head. We'll talk about it further. We're also going to be talking about something that I think needs traction. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There's several people in my family that are conspiracy theorists. Although I could do several shows on JFK. I actually do think there was a conspiracy there. But generally I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in UFOs. The extraterrestrial beings. They may be out there, I don't know. But I don't actively go out there and waste any energy thinking about them or watching anything about them. But anyways, there's an incident that I think there needs to be some traction on a case, a suspicious death case. Dawn Pasella. We're going to also talk about some updates on the East Cleveland officers' cases, although there isn't much. And again, that's part of the whole corruption of the county. That the court, literally, I don't even know how many motions. We'll get into it more, but there's so many motions that this judge isn't even ruled on. And then to find out that apparently the judge is related to the media relations for the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. It's just the whole nepotism of Cuyahoga County is just astounding. I might also slide in a little bit about some East Cleveland stuff. Because talk about, again, cities that the administration generally just can't lead. That's East Cleveland. So anyways, that's what we got coming up. So stick with me. You know, prior to moving on to our next segment, reference Michael Amiott, I wanted to bring up something that I had just briefly touched on right before I broke the segment, the introduction segment. And that was the fact that Judge Sherry Midday, is married to Ryan Midday. I believe that's his name, Ryan Midday, who is the communications director for Michael O'Malley. And this was actually brought up by Corey Schaefer. I'm trying to find the article here. It was a article written by Corey Schaefer in 2017 when Midday was running for judge. And it was brought up, hey, this might be a conflict. And she basically stated that she didn't feel it was a conflict. But anyways, I'm going to play it for you. This is an interview from Cleveland.com with Judge Sherry Midday, along with her husband, Ryan Midday, the communications director for Michael O'Malley, Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office.
That has not been determined, and my husband is currently self-employed, and he has a consulting company, and he's very happy with what he's doing. I don't think it would be a conflict. I think he ran the campaign very successfully. He has a keen eye and a mind for politics, and he believed in the platform that was being put forth by Mike O'Malley. But we have a lot of, there are judges who are married to prosecutors and judges that are married to defense attorneys, and I've never seen that be a conflict.
But in this case, there is a connection with the county prosecutor through your husband. So wouldn't, I don't know, if I were a lawyer appearing before you, I might worry that you were going to always favor the prosecution side of the case.
And that's a valid concern, and if that's a concern that a party has, then I would be happy to entertain that if they want to file a motion for me to recuse myself. But I think that we're professional enough to be impartial and to see the case and hear the evidence and hear the facts and make determinations and judgments based on what's presented in the courtroom.
So the reason I bring this up is, Michael O'Malley went on his Banshee ride late in 2022, essentially trying every one of the East Cleveland cases in the media through the press, the Fourth Estate, who asked no questions whatsoever. They just simply blindly followed Michael O'Malley's press conference late in 2022. So normally I might agree with what Judge Midday is saying. Maybe normally it's not an issue. However, it is an issue. I'm going to show you why. All right. So one of the attorneys filed a gag order in Judge Midday's court. Reference what I'm talking about. She uses the word, this campaign is designed to present a one-sided picture of the conduct alleged and to try the case in the media, taint the jury pool, and deny the defendant's right to due process. O'Malley's and his office only have the onset of political re-election pressure. O'Malley's press efforts began only after Cleveland reporter Sam Allard ran a story indicating that O'Malley is likely to be opposed in his next campaign, and that O'Malley only won his seat because his predecessor failed to indict officers in the shooting death of Tamir Rice. All right, so again, coming back to my point of Judge Midday, this is very much a conflict. She ruled against this motion. She ruled against this gag order. And again, her husband is the communications director from Mike O'Malley. All influences of any type of impropriety whatsoever should have been alleviated. And I don't feel that she should have made a ruling on this gag order. She should have recused herself. There shouldn't have been a motion that had to request this. This is a high-profile case for Mike O'Malley's office. She is married to Mike O'Malley's communications director. The defendant's attorneys filed to have a gag order placed on Mike O'Malley that she ruled against. She should have recused herself. I'll be back with Michael Amiott. Okay, we're back, everybody. I just felt it was important to follow up with that last segment because I don't think that sometimes I forget that not everybody is inside my head. So what, I was making mention in relative to the conflict between the Judge Midday, who's handling the majority of the East Cleveland cases now at this point, East Cleveland police cases that have been indicted. She's handling most of those. And when I made those comments, I realized that, hey, nobody probably even knows what I'm talking about. So I wanted to come back, make certain everybody knew about what I was talking about. And I'm wearing, for these segments here, I'm wearing my Tesla shirt. Noise Officer Ron Toma, the gentleman that I had on my previous show, from Las Vegas Metro Police. I had wore it in one of my other episodes, and he made certain to comment and let me know that he was not happy with that. So anyways, we're going to talk. We get a lot of things, honestly, to get in, and I'm not certain we're going to be able to get into everything, actually, that I had on my itinerary initially. But I want to get into Michael Amiott, who is a Euclid police officer, and the premise of this, it is in Cuyahoga County, although it was actually tried in Euclid Municipal Court, and they all sorts of motions that, I was looking at the docket, trying to familiarize myself a little better with this case. And I mean, there's just so much to this case. But the whole reason for this segment is to show, again, how critical the Fourth Estate of Northeast Ohio is. And I was actually having a conversation with a unnamed deputy that I know just yesterday. And we were having this conversation about the whole, the major premise, not the whole, the major premise of the show is to enlighten, hopefully, others and maybe get, rally some police officers, because we are not me anymore. My apologies. Police officers are a dying breed. You guys need to figure this out. The issue with being a police officer is that we just want to go do the job, get home now safe at this point. And unfortunately, we don't care what's going on with the other officers in other jurisdictions. CPPA in Cleveland used to be a really strong union. And I'm not so certain that Cleveland is as strong as it used to be as a police force because of the mandates that were imposed upon it. But the issue is this is becoming all over the place now. And honestly, mostly in Northeast Ohio, I'm not saying across the United States there's not other cities that have issues, but in Ohio, the major issues are in Northeast Ohio, Cuyahoga County. For whatever reason, the media does not support the police. And it's just weird, even going to other segments or other parts of Ohio and watching their news talk about things, talk about police. It's entirely different than Northeast Ohio. Northeast Ohio is just all about putting down and degrading the police any way they possibly can. So anyways, getting back to the conversation I was having with this undisclosed deputy the other day. That's what I was talking to him about. Hey, listen, where he works, they're still policing, but in Cuyahoga County, and mostly because of the media, you're not allowed to police anymore, and it's starting to filter out now. So it's starting to leak out of Cuyahoga County. We're having examples of it in Summit County, which will be my next segment. But seriously, law enforcement needs to rally. The unions need to rally. Because there's an issue between the perception of what policing is, what the public thinks policing is, and what the public wants. And until there is some sort of communication and bridge between that, we're going to be going through this downward spiral that I don't know that, honestly, if it's going to be recoverable. But we're talking about Michael Amiott with Euclid Police, and so he, well, I'm gonna, in case you're not aware or don't know the situation, I'm going to play a segment from the Fourth Estate, and this is actually talking about. I think the title of the segment from the news is actually about how a use of force expert is stating that it's an acceptable practice to punch as far as use of force. And it is. And I do realize even my own family has stated that I need to get out there. I need to do an explanation of use of force, and I apologize because that needs to happen so that everybody's on the same page with currently what use of force is, what officers are supposed to be doing, what they're permitted to be doing. And that seems to be the disconnect on a lot of issues, especially with the media. But anyways, I'm going to play this segment about Michael Amiott.
And tonight, the defense has rested its case in the trial of a Euclid police officer charged with assault. We're hearing from some of the other officers involved in this 2017 traffic stop where Michael Amiott repeatedly punched and kicked Richard Hubbard. Two officers took the stand to describe what they saw during that incident. News 5 investigator Sarah Buttison has covered this case right from the start. She was in court again today and has details now on their testimony.
During day 4 of Officer Michael Amiott's trial here at Euclid Municipal Court, we heard for the first time from the officer whose comments started the 2017 traffic stop that ended with criminal charges against Amiott.
I didn't think it would turn into this.
Euclid police officer Daniel Ferrito said he locked eyes with Richard Hubbard on August 12, 2017, then radioed Amiott and said that, quote, looks fun.
The connotation of that comment has been taken out of context, unfortunately.
Amiott then pulled over Hubbard and told him to get out of the car. Dashcam video shows Amiott throw him to the ground, try to kick him, then punch him repeatedly. Yesterday, Amiott acknowledged Hubbard never hit back.
During the 3 flurries of punches that you threw, did he swing back at you one time?
While I was throwing the punches, no.
The special prosecutor asked Kirk Pavko the same question today. He's the Euclid officer who showed up at the scene and put his knee on Hubbard's head.
At any time, did you see Richard Hubbard punch, strike, or attempt to punch or strike any police officer on scene?
No.
This afternoon, a use of force expert testified for the defense. Kevin Davis said punches are a legal policing tactic and that Amiott's use of them was also legal if Hubbard was not complying.
I see ebbs and flows, but I don't see compliance to a handcuffing position until he's finally handcuffed.
Another law enforcement expert also testified today. He said that punches are a legal form of pain compliance. The trial is expected to wrap up tomorrow. In Euclid, I'm News 5 investigator Sarah Buttison.
Amiott faces 3 misdemeanor charges, 2 counts of assault, 1 count of interfering with civil rights. He is still currently a member of Euclid's police force, works in the warrant service unit. Closing arguments begin in the morning.
Excellent. Use of force expert. The guy's been around. He was with the Akron PD. He's written several books. I actually have read his books when I was chief. Even before chief. Back when I was an officer, he had written some books. Guy is an excellent use of force expert, and that was him testifying at the trial. So for everyone that's in podcast land, essentially you had a traffic stop. An officer had pulled him out of the vehicle. There was, I don't think that he was actively resisting, but there was still passive resistance, meaning he wasn't being compliant, that so let me back up real quick. There's active resisting where a subject is pulling, attempting to run, tugging, whatever, maybe even punching, whatever to get away from an officer. That's active resistance. Passive resisting is typically what you think of is from like a protester, a demonstrator being arrested, where they may not actually be resisting, but they're locking up their muscles so that the officer can't physically arrest them. So in this case, I would say that the party was probably passively resisting, wasn't really complying, and Amiott had given him several punches, which again, Kevin Davis was testifying, hey, that's actually an accepted form of pain compliance, which is part of use of force. Pain compliance is basically where you're issuing strikes to someone to attempt to get compliance. That's the whole name of the game, folks, is compliance, so that the officer can arrest someone. Okay, it's a horrible thing. Okay, nobody wants to be arrested. Nobody. So when it happens, people sometimes resist, and the officer has the legal authority and obligation to arrest that person. So sometimes force needs to be escalated, hence the use of force continuum. But anyways, this traffic stop took place in August of 2017, and Euclid Mayor Kirsten Holzheimer / Gale, it's like Damiano Smith, whatever. Anyways, Euclid Mayor Kirsch Holzheimer Gale, and I have no idea, she might be the best mayor of all. I have no idea. I'm just the name. Anyways, she fires Amiott. Arbitrator rules and states that he should be reinstated. So Amiott's reinstated, and I believe during this time, they like reassign his duties, or it may have came later, honestly, once he was charged. They reassigned his duties. But anyways, the case was filed on August 2019, 2 years after the original incident. And he gets a trial date on 7/22 of 2022. And I had to do math on this, and I'm not good at math. I think it was 1,075 days from the time that he was charged to the time that he actually went to trial. And again, the date of incident is all the way back to 2017. 2017, and he's finally getting a trial in 2022. So his attorney files, he is convicted, and they bring in this retired Franklin County Judge Guy Reese. The Euclid judge recuses himself. The prosecutor also in Euclid recuses himself, which is normal. Okay, this is what they should do. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's sort of the timing that it took for all of these things to happen. So he's charged with interfering with civil rights and assault. So he ends up getting convicted by I think he goes with a jury trial, and he ends up getting convicted with assault, I believe. And his attorney files for an appeal for speedy trial. Again, there's all sorts of issues. If you look at his docket, I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on. I mean, there's just all sorts of issues. And folks, here's the thing. The law is the law. The law is there for a reason. And I'm gonna play another next clip from a Cassandra, or they're interviewing. Once the guy gets his case kicked on appeal, and he has won vacating his conviction, so he's an innocent man according to the law. All right, the media has crucified him. As I was doing my research just on this show, for the show, I mean, it's national news. There's all over the place. This guy is on news all over the place. He's just getting slammed all over the place. So after, as a matter of fact, if you Google the name right now, I think it takes about 7 or 8 entries down before it even acknowledges the fact that the guy has won his appeal and it's vacated and he's not guilty. Even today, you have to just keep scrolling down. But anyways, I'm going to play. So this is an interview. One of the, again, 7 or 8 searches down Cassandra McDonald, who is the founder of the NAACP, and she, I was very familiar with her in East Cleveland. She was having all sorts of issues in East Cleveland as well. I think that was actually with the previous mayor. There were issues, but anyways, I was somewhat familiar with her. And mind you, this is a graduate from Cleveland Marshall College of Law. And she has some sort of doctorate, right? So I'm going to play the clip here for you here, so you can understand what I'm talking about.
A follow-up now to a story we first brought you as breaking news Friday at 4 o'clock. The 8th District Court of Appeals vacated the conviction of Euclid police officer Michael Amiott. His assault conviction was thrown out because the visiting judge did not start the trial in time. Last year, Amiott was sentenced to community service after being convicted of assaulting Richard Hubbard during a traffic stop. It was caught on camera. Today, I spoke with the founder of the Euclid NAACP of Northeast Ohio, who tells me she's concerned about two things: the fact that the verdict was based on a technicality and the fact that Officer Amiott is still patrolling the streets.
When the appellate court issued the decision to overturn the trials court conviction, I was appalled by the fact that it was based on a technicality. And the technicality boiled down to the defendant's right to a speedy trial. He should not be serving any community, to be honest. And I want to make something very clear when I say that, because I don't want this to turn into we are against the police. That is not it. What I am against is a person who is in the law profession who happens to be an officer that violated the civil rights of Mr. Hubbard. That's what I'm focusing on, is the person and his character.
Months after Amiott was found guilty by a jury, the judge announced a 90-day sentence, which was then suspended. After his reinstatement, Amiott was assigned to the Euclid Police Department's warrant unit. Meantime, in 2021, Hubbard received a $450,000 legal settlement from the city of Euclid in connection to the incident. Again, as for Dr. McDonald there, she says she is upset by this technicality, and she'll go more into that in depth at 6 o'clock.
All right, very good. We look forward to that.
So again, the total irony: this guy wins his appeal. The conviction is vacated, meaning he is not guilty. And the media, again, just wants to keep digging the knife in, having this interview with Cassandra McDonald. And again, she should be well aware. She went to law school. I'm not sure if she's actually a member of the bar. I think she actually is, but I can't recall. And she went to law school. You should know. The law has, her words are technicalities. They won on a technicality. Well, the law is technicalities. You either did something or did it. It's either right or it's not. And when it's not right, then the conviction should be vacated, Ms. McDonald. And 4th Estate of Northeast Ohio. And again, this guy is still paying to this day, because the media still refuses to acknowledge the guy has been found not guilty. Nobody wants to really fairly report this. They just want to keep bringing up activists, community activists. But I do know I actually went to the academy with the chief over there, and at Euclid, he's a hell of a guy. He's a cop's cop. Hopefully I didn't just put a target on his back by saying that. But he's a good guy. And I know that it put him in an awkward position, this case. But again, the entire reason I wanted to bring this up was the fact that this guy is not guilty. And the media doesn't care. And the media just continues to report on his conviction. And they bury it 8 or 9 times down, and even when you find that link, this 8 or 9 times down, it's still basically blaming the guy. Shouldn't be on the street. Again, he was found not guilty, and looking at the video, I can't see any reason that he should have been charged in the first place. But I'm sure that the city caved again to the media and to the activists in Cuyahoga County, which is becoming a cesspool. It's the county of chaos. But that's what everybody wants up there, apparently. Maybe they want it to be the next Chicago, where homicides are just, you're just walking down the street to go to the steakhouse and crawling over bodies that have been homicided. Anyways, we'll bring you back to the next segment. We're going to be talking about Ryan Westlake, the next injustice of Northeast Ohio, fourth estate.
We begin now with breaking news. An Akron police officer fired at this hour. Akron police say the officer who shot a 15-year-old who had been waving around what was later determined to be a fake gun has been fired.
Yeah, the officer's termination did not have anything to do with that incident, they said, but two prior incidents involving use of force. 3 News investigator Lena Lai has been looking through the new documents. We got it just a short time ago. And Lena, what are we learning?
All right. Well, Matt and Laura, that is correct. Officer Ryan Westlake's firing is, in fact, based on 2 recently completed use of force investigations that have just been released. In Westlake's personnel file on December 31st, 2023, Westlake was involved in a use of force investigation, and he was charged with conduct unbecoming of an Akron police officer, as well as violating use of force procedures. Then separately, on March 1st, 2024, Westlake was involved in another use of force incident and once again charged with the same conduct unbecoming of an officer and violating procedures. So based on these 2 completed investigations, he was fired this afternoon. Meanwhile, Westlake is now under scrutiny for the April 1st incident in which he shot the hand of a 15-year-old who had a fake but realistic looking gun. Body cam video reveals that Westlake had asked the teen to see his hands as the officer was exiting his car, and then you hear a gunshot as the teen is struck in the hand. This incident is currently under investigation. But this afternoon, Summit County Prosecutor Elliot Kolkovich announced that the misdemeanor charge against the 15-year-old teen for having the fake gun has currently been dropped for now, citing that any charges should really come after the BCI investigation is complete. This means that the teen and Westlake could potentially face charges depending on the outcome of this current investigation. But for now, the latest, the Akron officer, Ryan Westlake, is out of a job. We'll talk about what could potentially happen next. Could he get his job back? We'll talk about those procedures coming up at 5 and 6. Matt.
Okay, we know you'll be following it. Lena Lai, thank you.
Okay, everybody, we're back. We're talking about Akron officer Ryan Westlake. I'm going to be referencing mostly out of a Akron Beacon Journal article written by a Stephanie Warsmith. And the title of the article, I'll have the links. Obviously, I cite everything that I use, so the links and everything will be included in that. But the title of the article is "Here's a Look at Akron Officer Ryan Westlake's Tumultuous History." I love that title, Tumultuous History. Anyways, I'm gonna warn you, I'm a very visual person, which is sort of odd because I'm trying to do this both on this platform, YouTube, podcast. It's actually available on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and obviously YouTube, and whatever else that Buzzsprout empties into. I don't honestly know. It might actually even be more. But anyways, I'm a very visual person. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to talk about his personnel file. I actually had received his personnel file the last episode that I did. And the incidents that he was fired from were referenced in that personnel file that I have. But anyways, I'm going to talk about initially his evaluations. And then I'm going to address from this article from the Akron Beacon Journal, and I think there are, I thought I wrote it down, but apparently I did not. I think there are 36 uses of forces listed in his file from 2014 when he was hired until obviously 2024. And I'm going to go through each one, give you the description, and show you how absurd I think they are, the majority. And this is what the city of Akron has used to terminate this officer. Now, she actually asked a very excellent and poignant question. Will he get his job back? And I have no idea what the rules and regulations of Akron PD are. I can only reference the rules and regulations that I'm familiar with from East Cleveland and with a union. And I know Akron, I believe, is part of FOP. That's another useless union. But Akron's local lodge, at least, is pretty strong. But anyways, there usually has to be a hearing. Now, maybe they did bring him up on departmental charges. Maybe he waived it. They terminated him. I don't know. Maybe there are some things in the background. I have no idea. But generally, in order to fire a police officer, to terminate them, you have to have some sort of disciplinary hearing. And since none of that has been referenced, I'm assuming that that did not occur for Officer Westlake. So is he going to get his job back? I mean, it's a myriad of factors, but I honestly think that he has a pretty decent chance, not just because of the non-hearing issue, and just because of the very flimsy reason for termination for these two uses of forces. But anyway, so what we're going to do is that we're going to deep dive, and I'm going to come back and from post-edit. So if you don't want to hear all of the laborious citations of each one of these use of forces, I think, like I said, or maybe 36. If you don't want to hear them, after I post-edit, I'm going to come back, insert myself here, and tell you where to fast forward to skip it. Hey, everyone, it's the future infamous ex-chief of East Cleveland. Skip ahead about 27 minutes. 27 minutes to get past the all of use of force if you don't want to listen to him. And the title of the article, I'll have the links. Obviously, I cite everything that I use, so the links and everything will be included in that. But the title of the article is "Here's a Look at Akron Officer Ryan Westlake's Tumultuous History." I love that title, Tumultuous History. Anyways, I'm gonna warn you, I'm a very visual person, which is sort of odd because I'm trying to do this both on this platform, YouTube, podcast. It's actually available on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and obviously YouTube, and whatever else that Buzzsprout empties into. I don't honestly know. It might actually even be more. But anyways, I'm a very visual person. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to talk about his personnel file. I actually had received his personnel file the last episode that I did. And the incidents that he was fired from were referenced in that personnel file that I have. But anyways, I'm going to talk about initially his evaluations, and then I'm going to address from this article from the Akron Beacon Journal, and I think there are, I thought I wrote it down, but apparently I did not. I think there are 36 uses of forces listed in his file from 2014 when he was hired until obviously 2024. And I'm going to go through each one, give you the description, and show you how absurd I think they are, the majority. And this is what the city of Akron has used to terminate this officer. Now, she actually asked a very excellent and poignant question. Will he get his job back? And I have no idea what the rules and regulations of Akron PD are. I can only reference the rules and regulations that I'm familiar with from East Cleveland and with a union. And I know Akron, I believe, is part of FOP. That's another useless union. But Akron's local lodge, at least, is pretty strong. But anyways, there usually has to be a hearing. Now, maybe they did bring him up on departmental charges. Maybe he waived it. They terminated him. I don't know. Maybe there are some things in the background. I have no idea. But generally, in order to fire a police officer, to terminate them, you have to have some sort of disciplinary hearing. And since none of that has been referenced, I'm assuming that that did not occur for Officer Westlake. So is he going to get his job back? I mean, it's a myriad of factors, but I honestly think that he has a pretty decent chance, not just because of the non-hearing issue, just because of the very flimsy reason for termination for these two uses of forces. But anyway, so what we're going to do is that we're going to deep dive, and I'm going to come back and from post-edit. So if you don't want to hear all of the laborious citations of each one of these use of forces, I think, like I said, or maybe 36. If you don't want to hear them, after I post-edit, I'm going to come back, insert myself here, and tell you where to fast forward to skip it. All right, so we're going to take a sip of water, and we're going to dive into this. So, February 17th, 2017, Westlake and other officers responded to a call about a man passed out in a car after being woken up and assessed by paramedics. The man charged toward officers, then tried to run. Westlake punched the man in the upper body and, along with two other officers, took him to the ground. Westlake used his taser to stun the man in the back, and the officers then handcuffed him. Okay. And this is, again, if you, after I come back and say when to fast forward, if you want to fast forward, because like 99% of what I'm going to read to you is as absurd as this, and how this media person, Fourth Estate, Stephanie Warsmith, talks about, she uses the word tumultuous. I have no idea. Maybe she doesn't understand how violent Akron is and how people sometimes don't want to be arrested. And, or you know, just because you have a use of force, it doesn't mean that you've done anything incorrectly. But anyways, all right, so we're going to go on to March 4th, 2018. Westlake was on his way to work when he saw a man running in and out of traffic on State Route 8. Westlake ran after the man and ordered him to the side of the road. He placed a handcuff on one of his wrists, but the man wouldn't let him handcuff on the other wrist, which, just side note, is extremely dangerous, just so everybody knows, because now you have one handcuff connected and the person can swing, and it's that handcuff is definitely pretty lethal. So anyways, Westlake wrapped his arms around the man and pulled him to the ground with the man flailing his arms. Westlake put his knees on his back until another officer arrived and helped handcuff the man. Again, another justified use of force, and that I have no idea why we're even reporting any of this. But okay, August 11th, 2018, Westlake and another officer pulled over a man whom they knew had a suspended driver's license. The man knocked down the other officer, that's a no-no, and tried to run past him, but the officer stopped him. Westlake deployed his taser, but missed, which is often the case. Those tasers suck. They're a good tool, but yeah. You miss people probably a high percent of the time. But anyways, Westlake deployed his taser, but missed. Westlake punched the man in the abdomen several times, and then in the face. And he and the other officer handcuffed the man. Again, just from what we had learned in the previous segment, punching is acceptable. Do we want to punch people in the head or face? No, we try to not do that. But sometimes it happens. Okay, it's not a playbook, sort of like football. Actions, things are moving fluidly. People don't necessarily have a the ability to make sure it doesn't happen. So anyways, September 27th, 2018, Westlake and another officer saw a motorcycle rider being pursued by an unmarked car driven by a Summit County Sheriff's deputy. Westlake tried to help the deputy, handcuff the driver, who dragged the two of them down a driveway and onto the ground. The officers handcuffed him. Again, folks, I'm not making this up. This is what they're reporting, and again, I don't even know what the point is. Anyways, January 2nd, 2020, Westlake and the other officers responded to a domestic dispute involving a mother and her son who has mental issues. The man threw punches at two officers, and they both deployed their tasers, which weren't effective. Again, going back to that higher percentage I was talking about, tasers are not necessarily a great tool to use. Westlake punched the man in the midsection twice. Two officers punched the man who was refusing to be handcuffed in the face. Officers then handcuffed him. And again, this goes back to what I was saying. You try not to hit somebody in the head face unless you're really trying to escalate force. Excuse me. But it is what it is sometimes. September 8th, 2020. Westlake and another officer attempted to pull over a vehicle with a driver whose license was suspended. I think Akron has more suspended, or not more, but just as many suspended licenses as East Cleveland did. But the driver fled, and the officers pursued him for 2 blocks. Before the driver stopped, Westlake pulled the driver from the vehicle, placed him on his stomach, and handcuffed him. Again, I have no idea why we're talking about it. December 4th, 2020, Westlake is involved in a dispute with his girlfriend at a hotel in Fort Lauderdale. She told police he threw her into a coffee table, pinned her arms to the ground, and struck her. She declined to press charges. And so, if you're in any other occupation, people would probably ask, why are we talking about this? And police officers obviously have to conduct themselves off-duty with certain conduct because they still represent whatever municipality they're working for. But again, can't really make very much about this. I try to be objective. Again, she declined to press charges. So it's really a moot point. January 7th, 2021, at least we were able to get out of 2020. Westlake and another officer pulled over a vehicle with the driver fleeing on foot while holding a gun. That's a big no-no. An officer caught up to the man who threw his gun and wrestled with him. Another officer deployed his taser, and Westlake handcuffed the man. Sounds like they should have gotten a medal for that. Don't know why we're talking about it with the man's use of force history. But January 9th, 2021, Westlake is involved in another dispute with his girlfriend at his Cuyahoga Falls apartment, in which she told police he pushed her to the ground, hit her in the eye, and held a gun to her head and threatened to kill her and her father. He is charged with domestic violence and aggravated menacing. These charges were later dismissed and the case expunged after his girlfriend refused to cooperate. Again, I know it would be nice to make something out of this. Again, speaking objectively, it never went anywhere. So you have no idea whether or not the girlfriend is making this up. It's a very distinct possibility. Okay. Girlfriend, boyfriends get in domestic violence situations all the time and then lie about what happened. Happens all the time. And without it actually being adjudicated or going to court, you can't really make anything out of this. March 13th, 2021, Westlake and another officer are involved in a car chase, followed by a foot chase. An officer deployed his taser, striking the driver. One time, good for taser. Westlake tried to handcuff the man and refused to give up one of his hands, and Westlake punched the man in the back. Officers handcuffed the man. Sounds pretty justified to me. March 14th, 2021, next day, Westlake and another officer followed a car that pulled into a driveway. The driver became argumentative and gestured with his arms. Westlake and the other officers forced the man to the ground and handcuffed him. The one thing that you could take away from this is the guy is actually pretty proactive. Leave the guy alone. Let him do his job. He's keeping Akron safe. July 20th, 2021. Mayor Don Horrigan terminates Westlake, pointing to the 2 off-duty incidents involving his girlfriend and to a call in which he used foul language. Now, I actually did get the opportunity to read this from his personnel file, right? This guy is on some sort of call incident, and I think the guy takes off. Westlake is pursuing him on foot pursuit, and nobody's even around. And Westlake makes some sort of remark. I can't remember what it was. It was an inappropriate remark. But again, nobody's even around to hear him. The only reason they knew about it was when they reviewed the body camera. And they try to discipline the guy for using some explicitive when nobody's even around. But anyways, and police are human, okay? We're not robots. Sometimes you're running after somebody and adrenaline kicks in and you say the weirdest, damnedest things. So anyways, this is July 20th. So the very next day, July 21st, Westlake is reinstated and instead suspended for 71 days without pay. And again, this might be an overstep what I was referring to prior. I would really find it extremely hard to believe that any municipality would have a CBA, a contractual bargaining agreement with a union that would allow you to just summarily terminate somebody without some sort of hearing. November 23rd, 2021. Westlake and another officer chased the driver of a truck who drove onto a closed entrance to Interstate 77. And after officers surrounded him, struck 2 cruisers. That ain't good. Westlake rammed into the truck with his cruiser in an attempt to disable it. The truck fled and officers pursued it, with the driver slamming on its brakes twice and Westlake rear-ended. The chase was called off after the driver went on Route 8 and into Cuyahoga Falls, reaching up to 86 miles per hour. Westlake is eventually suspended for 2 days for ramming the truck and not immediately reporting it. And again, I don't know the specifics of this. I actually didn't see this in his personnel file. Not saying it's not. Maybe I missed it. But if he failed to report it, then okay, he gets suspended 2 days. This is, again, folks, not the end of the world. You have a proactive officer out there doing all sorts of work, and things are going to happen when you have a proactive officer. Okay. Being proactive is not bad. Proactive is good. That's what you want in a town where you live in. You don't want crime. You don't want criminals to rule. Okay. So having a proactive officer out there is a good thing. December 8th, 2021. I'm sorry, another sip of water. December 8th, 2021. Westlake and another officer saw a car with an expired registration that pulled into a driveway. The driver refused to give officers his keys so they could search his vehicle prior to having it towed. And just segmenting or segueing, when a lot of people get confused about this. If you're being placed under arrest and you're driving a vehicle, officers do have the right to inventory your auto. Most police departments require it, and that's essentially to catalog or inventory everything in your vehicle so that nothing becomes missing. So anyways, he's refusing to give the keys for the officers to search the car. He also refused to put his hands behind his back. Westlake struck him in the lower back several times. Westlake, with the help of the other officers, handcuffed him. Sounds like another justified use of force. December 11th, 2021, Westlake and another officer attempted to stop a vehicle for having illegally tinted windows. And man, that is huge in East Cleveland. I have no idea how. I actually used to drive a couple of covert cars, and I hated it, honestly. Having tinted windows, you couldn't even see at night. Honestly, to me, it's a safety factor. I mean, you can't even see out the windows when you're driving. But anyways, getting back to our illustrious, tumultuous article here. The vehicle didn't stop, but then pulled over. A passenger fled, and Westlake chased him and deployed his taser. It doesn't say whether it was successful or not. I don't know. So I don't know whether they put that in the taser column or not. But with the man falling to the ground, the man tried to flee again but fell. Westlake stunned the man with his taser in the lower back and the rear of his head. Westlake punched the man several times and handcuffed him. And again, they're called like red zones. Typically, you don't want to use your taser on lower neck or back or head. But again, sometimes in the fluidity of the situation, things happen. And also, most departments also have policies. I think East Cleveland also has a policy relative to that. People seem to get alarmed about the use of tasing someone after they're handcuffed. People can still resist when they're handcuffed. People seem to have this arbitrary idea that okay, he's handcuffed and you're not allowed to do anything to him now at this point. Well, the guy can still be kicking, clawing, biting, running, shoving himself into you, even if he's handcuffed. And a taser, honestly, is a lower use of force than putting hands on the guy. So if the guy is actively resisting, yeah, I'm gonna tase him before I would even put hands on him. Anyways. January 15th, 2022, Westlake and another officer responded to a call about a burglary with two suspects having fled. Westlake chased a man matching his suspect's description. He took him to the ground, placed his knee on his back, and handcuffed him. Again, guys should be given some sort of accommodation. July 12th, 2022, Westlake responded to a dollar store in response to a man trespassing who had been banned. Westlake tackled the man and handcuffed him with the help from another officer. Again, why is this even here? Why are we talking about this? Give this man some sort of accommodation. Cleaning Akron up. It's like Superman out there. July 25th, 2022, Westlake received a written reprimand for failing to operate a patrol wagon safely when he was involved in a minor accident with a cruiser in the parking lot of a fast food restaurant in June. Police are driving, and I know there's professional drivers out there, okay? And honestly, you're probably going to get in accidents higher. You're going to have a higher probability of getting accidents just as police officers are. Police officers are constantly driving, constantly in weird situations when you're driving, and you're going to have a higher risk of being in accidents. And it was a minor fender bender. So again, not sure why we're talking about this. Akron Beacon Journal. Westlake went to a man's home to interview him about a cell phone he was accused of stealing. The man was sitting on his porch and a bag of marijuana on his lap. Sounds like a good party. Westlake tackled him and handcuffed him with the help of another officer. Okay, sounds good. August 31st, 2022, Westlake pulled over a vehicle for having an unreadable temporary tag. He chased the passenger when he fled and deployed his taser, but missed. Again, boop! Another miss for taser. Westlake lost the man when he jumped the fence. Okay, we would call that, in East Cleveland, we would call that an OFER. OFER, where you expend all sorts of energy and come up empty-handed. September 12th, 2022, Westlake responded to a call about a man alleged to be on drugs and trespassing in an apartment complex. He found marijuana on the man. While Westlake was checking the man for warrants, he fled. Westlake deployed his taser, hitting the man in the back, then handcuffed him. One for taser. Finally got one. We're almost 2.5 sheets down here, folks. All right, December 12th, 2022, Westlake is suspended for 1 day for failing to provide his name or identification number during a call for service. So usually departments, and again, I don't know why officers necessarily get themselves all hyped up about this. You're always going to get the couple of citizens that feel that they can get to you. I pay your salary. What's your name and badge number? Just give it to them. But again, why are we necessarily talking about this? I have no idea. And I can't believe the guy got suspended for a day. I mean, unless he had previous occurrences, which it doesn't say. I mean, that normally wouldn't even. I mean, that would just be like a written or a counseling reprimand. Anyways, December 16th, 2022, Westlake is suspended for 45 days for failing to follow a proper procedure for disposing of drugs. This was his third violation of this rule. So, I don't know the specifics of this here. But generally, if officers did the proper procedure for disposing drugs and narcotics, what you're supposed to do, because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to log, tag each piece of evidence into property. And if you did that for each narcotic that you came across, and I'm just speaking from for experience in East Cleveland, if you did that on a daily basis, that's all I would be doing. I wouldn't even be on the road. So sometimes they make it in the drain, the sewer. Generally, you would have the person do it for you. That way you can't be described as destroying evidence. April 14th, 2023. Westlake and another officer responded to a call about a domestic dispute involving a man threatening a woman with a bat. The man struggled with Westlake and another officer as they handcuffed him, and they then refused to walk. Westlake applied a pressure point behind his left ear. Westlake and the other officer pulled the man along to get him to a cruiser. That's actually textbook 101. Teach that in the academy. That's what you're supposed to do. May 7th, 2023. Westlake chased a motorcycle that has been reported stolen during a breaking and entering by Norton police. When the motorcycle stalled, Westlake grabbed the rider who attempted to flee again. Westlake pulled the rider off the motorcycle and sat on him. He handcuffed him with the help of another officer. Maybe Westlake likes the rodeo. I don't know. June 8th, 2023, Westlake saw a vehicle parked in a driveway that was suspected of being used in a music video at a drive-thru in which males displayed guns and threatened to shoot and rob an employee. Westlake tried to stop one of the occupants who ran. Westlake deployed his taser but missed. He saw the man get a handgun from his pocket. Westlake took out his gun and continued to chase him. The man tripped and Westlake tackled him. Another officer tried to help Westlake, handcuffed him, but the man tried to flee again, and Westlake swept his leg and took him down. Westlake and another officer handcuffed him. Again, why are we talking about this? August 7th, 2023, Westlake was among the officers who responded to a call about a man who stole a dump truck in New Franklin. I think I sort of remember this. I fled from officers. The driver stopped the truck at Derby Downs in Akron. 10 officers used verbal commands. Knee strikes, punches, elbow strikes, pinching, and 3 5-second taser blasts. 3 5-second taser blasts. Before they could get the man into handcuffs. September 18th, 2023, Westlake responded to a call regarding a landlord-tenant dispute. I used to hate those. Despise them. He noticed that a passenger, and the reason is because most of the time you can't really do anything. It's a civil matter. But police get called to it all the time. It's a big waste of time. But continuing. He noticed that a passenger in the landlord's car had a warrant for child endangering. The man refused to provide his identification or exit the vehicle. Westlake bent his arm against the door panel of the vehicle, then continued to pull him by the arm and took him to the ground. Westlake and another officer sat on the man and then handcuffed him. If anybody from Akron is listening or watching this, can you let me know about the sitting thing? I I don't see anything wrong with it as far as use of force, but I'm just, you guys have like some sort of training on sitting or something? I'm confused. But anyways, September 27th, 2023, Westlake responded to a report of a breaking and entering in an apartment. Westlake chased one of the juvenile suspects. Westlake shot him with a taser, striking him in the back. Ooh, one for taser. Other officers then handcuffed him. October 25th, 2023, Westlake responded to a call about a stolen vehicle. He had information that the suspect was inside an apartment. Another officer's canine searched the apartment and found the suspect hiding in the bedroom closet. The officer dragged the man from the closet and Westlake handcuffed him. Okay, so this is one of the, brings us to December 31st, 2023, which is one of two incidents that supposedly Akron just terminated him for. So again, December 30th, 2023, Westlake and other officers chased a man on foot. Officers believed the man may have a gun. When they caught him, Westlake put the barrel of his assault rifle to the back of his head, while other officers handcuffed him. Westlake then withdrew his weapon. Supervisors found Westlake's action to be unreasonable. Well, what I would like to ask his supervisors is, when you're chasing a man that you don't know has a firearm, has the possibility of having a firearm, you have reason to believe that he has a firearm. Are you supposed to invite him to Denny's for breakfast? Was it a little overboard? Maybe pressing the barrel into the guy's head, but he got the message, didn't he? Did it cause him any harm? Like actual physical harm? Did it cause him any physical harm? He's chasing a possible armed suspect and puts the gun to the guy's head. Hey, everybody went home safe, including bad guy. I don't see there's actually anything wrong with that. Is it a policy violation? Perhaps. Again, counseling, reprimand, something. I don't know. Maybe. Termination? No. But in between December 31st, or the January 8th, 2024, Westlake assisted another officer with a traffic stop involving a vehicle leaving an illegal gambling establishment with an expired registration. The passenger refused to identify himself, and Westlake learned he had previously been involved in a volatile arrest. The man had felony warrants. An officer grabbed the man's arm and told him to put his hands behind his back. The man began hitting his forehead on the bumper of a cruiser. I never understood that. People do that all the time, not necessarily hitting in a cruiser, but suspects love hitting themselves in the head. I have no idea why, but Westlake took the man to the ground, and he and other officers handcuffed him. January 24th, 2024, Westlake responded to a call about a theft from a dollar store. He saw a man matching the suspect's description and tried to stop him, but he fled. Westlake deployed his taser twice, but ineffective. Ooh, 2 times. 2 times against taser on that one. Westlake pulled the man to the ground and sat on him. What is this? Akron, seriously, can somebody please leave comments in below somewhere or email me? I got to know about the sitting thing. Is this taught no pata now? I don't know. Again, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I'm just trying to understand. Where were we sitting? Trying to find where you're sitting on him. Okay. Westlake applied pressure behind the man's left ear. Other officers arrived and helped Westlake handcuff the man, who had a pack of stolen cigarettes in his hand. All right. Hopefully it was something other than Newport. Got to make it worth it, you know. All right, next incident is again one or two of the causes that Akron used to terminate. March 1st, 2024, Westlake responded to a convenience store for a complaint by the owner about a customer and her friends who had been stealing from him. While other officers searched for the teenage customer's friends, Westlake handcuffed the teen and took her to his cruiser. So Westlake swung her around and she fell, landing on the pavement next to the cruiser, surveillance video shows. He then put her in the back of his cruiser. A police supervisor found Westlake's actions to be reasonable, but internal affairs supervisors disagreed. To be objective, there's not enough information here, but reading this, it sounds like that maybe he just got a little little jippy, a little too quick. And if the girl accidentally fell, it would really depend on whether or not it was intentional that he whipped her around, or whether or not it was an accident. But either way, I don't think, for a guy that's been working in Akron since 2014, I don't see where this would be a fireable offense. So we had an incident afterwards on March 15th, 2024. Westlake saw a car with illegally tinted windows that turned into a driveway. He learned that the vehicle had been involved in a pursuit with Talmadge police. He tried to arrest the driver, but he fled on foot. Westlake deployed his taser, but it had no effect. Boop! Another one against taser. Another officer released her canine, which caught the man. He was trying to climb a fence. Westlake handcuffed him. So, female officer with a canine. I wonder, I might know you. Might know you. Which brings us to the current situation. April 1st, 2024, Westlake responded to a non-emergency call about a man pointing, which I'm a little confused. Westlake responded to a non-emergency call about a male pointing a gun at houses. I'm not sure who used that term, non-emergency call. If you get a call about a male pointing a gun at a house, okay, if you get a call of a male, walking down the street and he's got a gun on his hip, okay, that might be a non-emergency. But a male pointing a gun at a house, I would think would be an emergency. So I'm not sure if that's the reporter's words, or if that's what the department gave her, but that makes no sense to me whatsoever. But anyways, he told the male to show his hands, and seconds later shot him in the hand. The gun that the 15-year-old was holding was fake. The incident is under investigation by Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations. So, this guy's been a cop since 2014. He seems to be a very proactive cop. And I mean, what's going to probably end up happening is the guy's going to get his job back. And trust me, he's not going to be probably a proactive officer anymore, because this is what happens. This is what happens when you have a good proactive officer that the media decides shouldn't be a police officer anymore. There are all sorts of consequences the city has taken because of it. And now this guy is just going to be some slug. He's not going to Akron. It's not his fault. He went out there and tried to do well for you, Akron. He tried to arrest bad guys and make sure people weren't pointing guns at your house. The only reason this guy is fired, this isn't for the last 2 use of forces incidents. If you think that, you got issues. The reason this guy is fired because of this last incident with this teenager that's still under investigation. There's this huge media outcry. All right, so we're done with that. So again, I'm going to post edit, bring everybody back if anybody skipped all of that. And now we're going to talk about his personnel file. Let me mark my clip here so I know. This guy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 evaluations in his personnel file. And if somebody wants them, I'll send them, or I'll post them. But trust me, there's not a bad thing said about this guy in all 14 evaluations. A lot of good things are said about him. Let me see if I can find them. I mean, he got compliments on several things that he did. And the guy is just an all-around decent cop. Again, you can argue, well, he's got these off-duty incidents with his girlfriend or whatever, and that might be the case. Who knows? Does he need some counseling with alcohol? Maybe. I don't know. Does he deserve to be terminated, especially when the girlfriend has failed to follow through twice? I mean, it's just like any other person. People can complain about you all day long. If you don't follow through, then you can't use it against them. Right, wrong, or indifferent. You can't use it against them. So, you've got a guy that has done really well for Akron. And they've hung him out to dry for the media. 4th Estate, Northeast Ohio. So now that we got through this, my next topic is going to be talking about the Summit County Prosecutor's Office and how they have dropped the charges on the juvenile, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. And again, it's just a convenient way for them to avoid this screwed up situation. FUBAR. I should have worn my FUBAR shirt. Because that's what it is. FUBAR. None of it's good. And Akron, you've lost yourself a really proactive, good officer. Because I think he's going to get his job back. But he's going to be a slug. Not his fault. All right, we'll talk about Summit County Prosecutor's Office coming up. I went to the grocery store while I was hungry. My eyes were way too big. Listen, I had a lot of things on my itinerary that were way over time here. I had a lot of things on my itinerary. I might try to squeeze out a special edition because I want to talk about Summit County Prosecutor's Office reaction to the case. And I definitely want to talk about the death of Dawn Pasella, because that directly has influence with the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office as well as a federal prosecutor. The lies that they were doing to convict somebody, and the suspicious death of Dawn that worked for the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, and what the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office did to attempt to keep it hidden. But anyways, we're way over time. I'm going to try to get back and get another episode. I hope. I don't know if I can. All right, I'll talk to you guys. Thanks for watching episode 6. And if there's any use of force people out there, people have already probably turned away, but if there are any use of force people, OPATA use of force people, that are willing to come on the show, please let me know. I will put my email somewhere up here. Thank you.